Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're going to explore a genuinely fascinating intersection of science and style. The neuroaesthetics of interior design, presented by WA Interiors. Typically when we think about interior design, we just think about what looks beautiful, what matches, or what feels on trend right now. But today, we're flipping the script. We're going to look at designing spaces for wellness, shifting our perspective from pure aesthetics to how our environments actually interact with our biology. Now, I want you to think about that for a second. What if your living room could literally lower your heart rate? It sounds almost like science fiction, right? But what if the very walls around you, the layout of your furniture, and the materials in your home could act as a subtle form of medicine? This is where high-end design meets human biology, and it completely changes how we think about the spaces we live and work in every single day. To really grasp this, we've got to look at the shifting paradigm. Traditional design was always asking one primary question: does this look good? But WA Interiors introduces us to the neuroaesthetic approach, which asks a much deeper question: how does this support my nervous system? It's not abandoning beauty at all. Rather, it's elevating beauty to serve our emotional well-being and cognitive function. It's a real game changer. Section 1. Beyond just looking good, the science of space. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that we are dealing with a hard science here, not just a passing design trend. Neuroaesthetics is a legitimate subdiscipline of cognitive neuroscience. Researchers in this field are actively studying how the human brain perceives and responds to beauty, to art, and to the spatial environments we inhabit. They're looking at actual brainwaves and biological markers to figure out exactly why a room makes us feel a certain way. When applied to where we live, this discipline offers a science-based approach to wellness through architecture and decor. It totally shifts our focus toward active, emotional, and physical health support. The design of your home is no longer just a static backdrop for your life. It becomes an active participant in your daily well-being. And that creates an incredibly powerful foundation for the rest of our tour through these design concepts. Section 2. Hardwired for natural comfort. The biophilic connection. So this brings us to biophilia. The human brain is actually evolutionarily hardwired to seek out connections with nature. Neuroaesthetic design leans heavily into these biophilic elements. We're talking about maximizing natural sunlight, integrating indoor plants, and utilizing natural materials like rich wood, cool stone, and earthy clay. Our brain spent thousands of years developing in the natural world. We definitely didn't evolve to thrive in windowless fluorescent cubicles. So it intuitively makes sense that bringing these elements indoors feels incredibly grounding to us. But it's not just a vague feeling of rightness. There is a direct physiological payoff here. Studies clearly show that having visual and tactile access to natural elements can significantly lower cortisol, which, as you probably know, is our body's primary stress hormone, and actively regulate our heart rate. Just by adding natural textures or allowing more sunlight to pour into a room, you're physically calming your body down. Section 3. The geometry of safety, shapes, and the brain. Functional imaging studies, like fMRIs, have revealed that our brains react remarkably differently to specific shapes. Sharp, jagged angles can subconsciously trigger the amygdala. That's our brain's threat response center. It basically puts us on a low-level alert. In contrast, curved lines, soft edges, and organic fractal patterns actually activate regions of the brain associated with pleasure, comfort, and safety. So a curved sofa isn't just a style choice, it's literally a neurological relief. And that need for safety ties perfectly into this next concept, prospect and refuge theory. This is a fascinating evolutionary theory that explains how we feel most at ease in spaces that satisfy two deep-seated needs. Prospect is the ability to see our surroundings clearly, to survey our environment. Refuge is the feeling of being protected, sheltered, or having our backs covered. We want to see what's coming, but we want to feel completely safe while doing it. And this brilliantly illustrates how we put this theory into practice. Imagine a cozy reading nook that has a slightly lowered ceiling but looks out through a massive, expansive window. You have the refuge of the tucked-away nook and the lowered ceiling, combined with the prospect of the wide-open view. It elegantly grounds a high-level academic theory into a highly relatable, luxurious design scenario. Section 4. Light, color, and touch. Sensory engagement. Now, lighting in neuroaesthetics goes far beyond mere visibility. It's about biology, specifically circadian lighting. The goal here is to mimic the natural progression of daylight to support your body's circadian rhythm and serotonin production. Step 1 is maximizing natural daylight during working hours to keep you alert. Step 2 is shifting to warm, layered, dimmable artificial lighting in the evening. This basically signals to your brain that the day is ending, naturally preparing you for restful sleep. Next up is color, which in this framework is treated as a biological intervention rather than just a stylistic preference. Cool tones like soft blues and sage greens actually activate the parasympathetic nervous system. That's your rest and digest mode. Meanwhile, warmer tones like terracotta or amber stimulate alertness, energy, and social interaction. You can literally program the energy of a room just by selecting the right elegant color palette. But we don't just see a space, do we? We feel it. The brain experiences a room through all of its senses. By incorporating balanced textures, like the friction of rough wood alongside the cool glide of smooth marble, paired with plush, heavy fabrics, you actively stimulate the somatosensory cortex, which is the part of the brain that processes touch. Balancing these rich, tactile elements is what prevents a modern room from feeling clinically sterile, making it feel emotionally resonant and deeply grounding instead. Section 5. The wellness dividend, real-world benefits. When you stop overwhelming the senses with chaotic design and start actually aligning with human biology, the dividends are massive. Neuroaesthetic spaces drastically reduce stress, tangibly increase productivity, and significantly enhance our ability to rest. Let's break down exactly how this works. So, the crucial point is this. A well-designed space reduces stress by actively lowering your cognitive load. Think about it. When an environment is chaotic, overly cluttered, or visually jarring, your brain has to work overtime just to process it all. By using organic shapes, balanced colors, and natural elements, we are quite literally giving the brain less work to do. Less processing power required equals a calmer, far less stressed mind. And this naturally leads right into increased productivity. Whether it's a home office or a commercial workplace, incorporating biophilic designs and balancing the acoustics are directly linked to higher focus and reduced mental fatigue. You are essentially removing the environmental friction that drains your energy, transforming the room into a quiet engine of productivity. Which brings us to our final thought for today. Knowing that your environment is constantly whispering cues to your nervous system, how will you apply these neuroaesthetic principles to your residential or professional space? Will you rethink the harsh angles in your living room, or maybe bring more circadian-friendly lighting into your home office? The science shows us that true luxury isn't just about how a room looks. It's about how it allows us to live, function, and thrive. Thank you for joining me on this explainer. The next time you walk into a room, don't just ask yourself how it looks. Ask yourself how it makes your brain feel.